I'm John Law, this is Chasing Cars, and today it's a big deal because we're among the first media in the world to check out the new 9th generation 2026 Toyota Hilux. Now, on the face of it, it's very much what we expected. An update of existing underpinnings and engines. That means this car is diesel only from launch, uses a live rear axle, leaf-sprung rear end, and retains the same basic cabin cell. But there are all new things to this car. The design language, the interior has so much more technology inside. And today, although I have driven this car, what we're going to do is give a detailed walk around on the new Hilux. Talk about the new technology, talk about the new cabin, the upgrades, and all of that sort of stuff, and see how this car compares on first sight to the likes of the Kia Tasman, which won our recent Ute comparison test, along with the Ford Ranger, plus newcomers like the BYD Shark 6 and GWM Canon Alpha, because, well, the Hilux doesn't seem to have what it needs to take on some of those new arrivals. Again, at least on paper, it doesn't sound like a huge transformation, but it stayed true to the Hilux recipe. It's the most Australian Hilux ever because it's targeting those core buyers. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on the new Hilux down below. Hit subscribe to Chasing Cars if you haven't done so already, and let's get right into it. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the new Hilux, let's talk Australian pricing because it's up across the board between 20% and about 3%. Starting at the bottom end, it's now $6,260 more to get into a basic Hilux Workmate. But there's more to it than just bare numbers because the entire range now uses the 1GD 2.8 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder, which is a big upgrade on the old 2.7 litre petrol in the base car, and means that the entry-level diesel Hilux is actually almost $7,000 more affordable than it used to be with a worse engine. A little bit confusing, but crucially, the Workmate single cab chassis remains cheaper than key rivals from Mitsubishi and Isuzu. So I think Toyota's been very smart with the pricing there. Now, every single 4x4 variant is up, and you'll hit biggest at the lower end of the ranges in the SR. Moving up through the SR5, the increases for the 48-volt dual cab pickup, which we're most interested in here at Chasing Cars, that's $2,730 more, which is quite a lot given so much of this Hilux is carryover. The same engine, the same platform, but there is all new technology inside, and the Rugged X and Rogue aren't that much more expensive than they used to be at $71,990 before costs, and crucially, this keeps the Hilux in its latest form more affordable than the V6 Ford Ranger, and also more affordable than a lot of other rivals, including the Isuzu D-Max. But of course, it's not any cheaper than fresh Chinese rivals like the BYD Shark 6, which is really making a splash. Let's talk styling because, as I said, this is the most Australian Hilux yet, and that all starts from outside this car. The design process started in 2021, and it was led by the Australian design team. And I think it looks really good. Maybe not so much in the midsection, but at the front, it has some real imposing purpose and I think moves the Hilux game on nicely. Got these slimline LED headlights, which are joined by this black band. And we're told the theme of this is a cyber sumo. So it's kind of like a sumo wrestler crouching down to give it a strong look. This car is the Rogue, so second from the top before the Rugged X arrives later this year. And it looks good, especially in red, classic Toyota colorway. We've got these fog lights down low as well. We come around the side, nice black 18-inch alloy wheels. And yeah, I think the design at the front is really quite successful. It's really down the side where you can see the previous Hilux in this car's shape. It's a very similar cabin cell using all the same glass, very similar roof and very similar doors. They have been slightly reprofiled to match the new wider fenders. And it actually is quite successful, though you can definitely see the heritage of the Hilux in the side. Now, proportionally, we don't know the dimensions just yet, but we know it's going to be very similar, if not almost entirely identical, especially in wheelbase. There is a big change up the front though, where the bonnet sits 100 millimeters higher, and that gives it that extra presence I was talking about at the front. As we come down the side, we can see a couple of details that this Hilux has picked up from other vehicles, such as this step here on the side, which should be useful for when you're using this thing for trade. And we also have this attractive new sports bar here, which looks quite practical and like it won't interrupt the loading of the bay nicely. So really good point. Finally, I come back to the fact that we now have disc brakes on the back of the Hilux from SR5 through Rogue and Rugged X, which is really great to see. Rounding out styling, at the rear of the Hilux, we have a quite significant change and a really modern look back here. These nice big separate taillights, big, confident lettering, Toyota across the back, a classic Hilux trait. And you have this chunky latch here with the brake light integrated. Again, big steps back here, tow bar for towing. Of course, the Hilux retains its signature 3.5-ton towing capacity, as we'd all come to expect. Now, we haven't had a real chance to check out the tray. This car is carpeted and very heavily accessorized, but we're told that it's going to maintain basically the same dimensions as before. That means this tray will be pretty long, but you still won't be able to fit a standard Euro pallet between the arches like you can in a Volkswagen Amarok and in the new Ford Ranger. Under the bonnet, the new Hilux is perhaps most notable for the lack of changes. It's a very familiar powertrain, 2.8-litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder, the 1GD that's been the Hilux for quite a while now. And it makes the same power outputs as the pre-update car, 150 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters. From the SR 4x4 automatic variants and upwards, you get the V-Active technology thrown in standard, which is that 48-volt mild hybrid system, which does help save some fuel, but isn't the same as a full-fledged Toyota hybrid. We'd love to see that in the future, but it doesn't sound like Toyota's adding that technology anytime soon to this platform. What you will be able to get next year is a fully electric version of the Hilux. Now, Toyota said that this is much more focused at mining and fleet customers rather than you and me, who are probably going to think about buying the diesel instead, but there will be a high-spec battery electric car aimed at urban ute users as well. As for other changes under here, they're pretty limited. It looks almost identical to the previous Hilux, except for the fact that there's that extra 100mm of space there, which makes the engine look like it's sat just a little bit lower. There's been no changes to accommodate a second accessory battery under the bonnet, as we've seen in the Ford Ranger. And also, there hasn't been any major reconfigurations except for the fact that this car now uses an electric power-assisted steering system. And getting drive to the wheels is no full-time four-wheel drive system like we see in the Mitsubishi Triton and some models of the Ford Ranger. The Hilux continues with its part-time switchable four-wheel drive with new switchgear inside that we'll go and have a look at now. This is where the Hilux has made its biggest leaps. In terms of perceived quality and technology, this 9th generation vehicle feels way above the previous car in the front seat. I've got this lovely leather-wrapped steering wheel in this Rogue spec, soft touch materials on the doors, this nice cup holder, JBL stereo with no more muffins on the dashboard, and then we come to the technology. 12.3-inch touchscreen up here. It's relatively responsive. It's very familiar to what you find in a Toyota Prado. Below it, we retain physical buttons for the HVAC, which is a big thing for this car. Usability is crucial in a Hilux, and we come down to that here, where you've got your multi-terrain select, big buttons for your traction control off to defeat the auto start stop, and for your differential lock, way better than the Ford Rangers, which is buried in the touchscreen. You've also got this nice chunky 2 high, 4 low selector, plus a physical shifter. It all feels good, it feels quality, and there's some practical touches too, like the secondary glove box up here. You've also got a nice deep center storage bin, 2 cup holders, and door bins that look pretty good to me. One of the other major changes in here are the seats. There's this new mineral color here in this Rogue and also in Rugged X, which looks quite nice. The leather feels all right, and you get power adjust for this seat as well, and they seem to be more comfortable than the car it replaces by quite a long way. Here in the back seat though, the comfort level has not jumped to the same amount. We're told there's a new bench and under thigh support, but the space is simply limited in this car, which now is one of the smallest in the dual cab space. Knee room's tight, toe room's tight, and although headroom is pretty good for me at 188 centimeters tall, the fact is that the Hilux is going to struggle to compete with the Tasman and the Ranger for family duty 4x4 dual cab supremacy. Right, so we've had a first look at the Toyota Hilux. What do we think of this ute? Is it fresh enough? Is it new enough? Well, what's clear to me is that Toyota has paid the most attention to customer retention, something that's really important to Hilux. It's got a 51% customer retention rate, we're told, and this car looks to tread that line. It's got a proven engine, off-road capability, we're told, and also a cabin that feels fresh inside. Some of the issues remain unsolved though. It's a diesel-only offering at launch with no petrol base model, plus that back seat is still heavily compromised if you're going to be using this vehicle as a family ute. So will it be good enough to take on the Ford Ranger? Toyota seems to think so, reckons this will outsell the Ranger come 2026 or 2027. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below, hit subscribe to Chasing Cars if you haven't done so already, and as always, thank you very much for watching.